Don't you just love a good victory? I was thinking about David and Goliath and that moment with David slayed Goliath, or the Israelites when they cross over the Jordan River into the Promised Land. These are moments of victory and celebration, but they're just that. They're moments. And honestly, I look for those moments to celebrate as I'm miserable along the journey. That's just such a silly thing. But I think we can follow this into this trap. We have these dreams, these hopes, these passions of ours, and when we envision that in our dreams, maybe we're asleep or awake dreaming, we're envisioning that moment. But as I was thinking about this, I thought there was a whole generation that never made it to the Promised Land. And if that was their perspective, if that was God's perspective, that there was no celebration along the way, what a miserable journey. But I noticed in their life, they set up monuments. They did things to celebrate. So that's what we're going to talk about today. How do we celebrate along the journey so that we can enjoy the ride? Because it can be miserable sometimes when the dream doesn't match reality. Here's some things that have helped me. Number one, measure the input, not the output. Look, whether it's a prosperous thing, whether you get across the Jordan River, those are all up to God. Our job is to be faithful in the action that He's called us to do. And so for me in this channel, it would be making these videos is something I feel God's calling me to do, to think about what He's calling me to say. These are my part, to market it the best I can, to hire out someone to edit them, to do the thumbnails, to do these things so that it can have a good result. But it's not my job to do the result piece. But what I've noticed is we can get so focused on the output and the win and how big that it can steal our joy and our celebration. So celebrate the output. When you get to the end of your day, did you do what God called you to do? If so, that's a success. Can we celebrate it? In my family, we have this thing with my kids where it's called ring the bell. And at dinner time, we look at what happened today, things that we can celebrate, actions they stood, did they stand for Christ today, those things. And if they did, we ring the bell in celebration. So can you ring the bell? Measure that. The other thing we want to do, number two, is celebrate along the way. I talked about ringing the bell and measuring the input, but can we do things to celebrate it? These generations that were walking around in the desert, they also, when God spoke, when God did things, they made monuments in those moments. Can you make monuments throughout the journey where God was faithful, where the idea sparked? Like write these down in a journal and celebrate them along the way. Number three, trust in God's plan. Look, that's really easy to say. Trust God. There you go, problem solved, end of video. No, trusting God is always a wrestling with what we want and our desires and laying them down to what His plan is. And there's a tension there, isn't there? Because if He's put a dream in your heart, right? It's a dream in your heart. But He always wants us to have that with an open hand. And the more passionate you are about something, the more excited you are, the harder sometimes that is to trust in His plan. But God has a plan overarching and like an umbrella over our lives. And we have a role to play that's exciting, but it's still His plan, not ours. Honestly, in my life, this has been one of the most challenging things, is surrendering control to His plan. In fact, I'll even have conversations in my prayer where I'm telling God His plan's stupid and my plan's better and you just need to get on board. I know that's foolish, but I can head down that line, especially the more outcome focused I am, the more David and Goliath moment I'm focused on instead of today. But there's been formation in my life in this that's really helped me, and it's in waiting on God. Though I wish it was in the Promised Land moments, He's formed me the most in the waiting. And if you're struggling in this moment of waiting on God's plan, I encourage you to watch this video right here, and I hope that it'll help you wait with a cheerful, celebratory spirit.